Welcome to Reinventing Broadcast, where AI meets content. Hosted by Ben Anker. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Reinventing Broadcast. This is episode 8, where I'll be unpacking week 4 of my journey through Berkeley's AI Strategy and Business Applications Executive Education course. This week focused on computer vision and natural language processing, and it came with not one, but 2 assignments.
2 assignments in one module? Sounds like week 4 was a bit of a step up.
Well, up until now, each module had just one graded task, but with both vision and language covered this week, the workload increased, both in terms of the video content and the assignments. That said, the hands-on nature of it made it all really engaging.
Let's start with the computer vision side. What did that assignment involve?
We used the Google Cloud Vision API to test its labeling capabilities. The task was to compare images of our choice against Google's own equivalent versions and note how well they were labeled in terms of both accuracy and confidence. I picked a mix of visuals like a squirrel and a peacock, straightforward cases. Then a few more specific or contextual images like a barge boat, the Skylon Tower and Rochdale Pioneers Museum. And 2 edge cases, a pleasure barge and the Rochdale Cooperative Building.
So how did the model perform?
For common, well-trained images like the squirrel and peacock, both my versions and Google's equivalents, returned 99% plus confidence scores, solid results. But when it came to more culturally specific or contextual images, things got interesting. For example, my image of a barge was only labelled as boat. Even the Google image, which literally had barge in the file name, didn't register that specific term. Same for the Skylon Tower. It returned night as the top label, which wasn't wrong, but missed the landmark entirely.
So the broader label worked, but it missed the nuance?
Yes, indeed. It showed that while confidence scores were high, they didn't always translate to semantic precision, especially for UK-specific objects or less photographed subjects. And in cases like the Rochdale Cooperative, even with improved image quality or clearer context, the landmark still wasn't picked up.
Any lessons from that?
Oh yeah, for sure. 1. The training data context matters. Models can be highly confident but still miss nuance. And 2, it made me think how this tech could be used in media archiving or tagging news footage, but only with careful validation.
Let's shift to the NLP side. You mentioned you didn't use Twitter for this one?
Well, I don't have a Twitter account, so I used a proxy site called knitter.net, which pulls Twitter content without needing a login. For the other tools, I use google.com and techsynth.com, which is an open-source large language model platform. The assignment was about comparing text-based tasks across these 3 engines, how they search, generate, and contextualize information. It wasn't about writing prompts, but about seeing how well each platform handles language understanding and relevance.
And what did you find?
Twitter, or Knitter in this case, gave very conversational but highly specific results, great for real-time sentiment. Google was the most structured and reliable in surfacing factual information. TechSynth was creative, let's say that, but it did throw up a few hallucinations. Classic generative model behavior.
So if you were using these for business use cases?
Twitter is great for social insight, Google for market research, and TechSynth maybe for brainstorming, but you'd need a human in the loop to filter nonsense. Also, the speed of comparison really made me think how NLP search could shift across industries, even within broadcast script reviews, subtitle generation, and social listening tools could all benefit.
On top of all that, you were traveling this week?
Yes, early in the week, I travelled to London for the Media Production and Technology Show at Olympia, which meant I had to carve out time to finish both assignments before the Thursday deadline. Tough but doable.
Did the trade show relate to the course content at all?
For a lot of stands at the show, they did have a lot of AI presence. I had several conversations with vendors and tech partners about AI in production workflows. Everything from speech-to-text subtitle engines to AI-controlled camera switching, where AI responds to a person's name being mentioned, or even their presence in a static shot. It was a perfect real-world counterpart to what we'd just covered in the module.
Ben, you mentioned earlier that while in London, you also attended a training session on AI and video editing. What was that about?
Yes, it was a 2-hour deep dive during the Media Production and Technology Show, led by Louisa from FMO, who walked us through how she uses AI tools in real production environments, particularly long-form documentaries. She gave a compelling example, working with 9-hour-long rushes of interview footage. Think about that. Just trawling through all of it manually would take a day or two. But with tools powered by Adobe Sensei, she's able to drastically reduce the time to find the good stuff.
Let's unpack that. What kind of features were game changers?
One that stood out was scene edit detection. It takes a flattened video file, no metadata, no timeline markers, and uses AI to find every shot change. For people working with archival footage, or editors who didn't get the project from scratch, it's a massive time saver. Louisa showed how it helped her segment out usable cuts from hours of raw interview content almost instantly.
Incredible. Any other moments that made you think, this is AI doing real work?
Yes, she showed a wildlife sequence with a herd of hyenas moving through a shot. The original clip ended a few seconds too early, so she used Gen AI to extend it seamlessly, visually blending in a few extra seconds of footage. Now, for documentaries, that kind of creative flexibility without going back to location is game-changing.
And that's not something you could do just a few years ago.
No way you could. She also demonstrated how in-shot search was being used. The model could detect specific visual elements like elephants, automatically tagging and surfacing those moments from unlabeled rushes. It's machine learning actively assisting the editorial process, not just automating busy work.
Let's run through the AI tools she covered. These could be helpful for anyone consulting in broadcast, marketing, or social content.
Absolutely. Here's a quick breakdown. Auto reframe adjusts framing for different aspect ratios. Great for pushing content from widescreen to TikTok-ready formats. It keeps subjects centered so you don't have to reframe manually. Speech-to-text and auto captions transcribes dialogue quickly with high accuracy, essential for accessibility, fast delivery, and repurposing interviews. Morph Cut smooths over jump cuts in talking head videos. Uses AI to interpolate frames and create seamless edits, perfect for cutting out ums and ahs. Color Match analyzes lighting and color between clips, ensuring visual consistency, especially useful with multicam shoots. Autotone applies AI-based corrections for exposure, contrast, and white balance, a solid jumping-off point for color grading.
That's a serious suite of tools. How did the room respond?
The editors and producers in the session were all impressed, but cautious. They saw the potential, but many were still wrapping their heads around how to trust these tools in a broadcast pipeline. That's where I think AI consultancy can step in, helping teams understand where automation ends and editorial judgment begins.
What did this session change for you at personally or professionally?
Honestly, it made me realize how close we are to AI-enabled editing becoming standard. It's no longer theory or future state, it's here. And it's saving time, improving workflows, and unlocking new creative options. From a consulting point of view, it reinforces my goal of helping clients in media adopt AI practically, not just as an idea, but as an everyday tool.
It's all about knowing what's available and applying it strategically.
Yes, and this wasn't some Silicon Valley showcase. This was a real editor showing real footage with real production workflows. That's what makes the impact tangible.
You've also been networking both in person and in the course, right?
Yes, both actually. I caught up with industry friends, recruitment agents, consultancy firms, and technology vendors. Many were intrigued in how I'm blending this AI education into my existing consultancy work. A few even asked if we could explore collaborations over the summer, potentially using AI in the future.
That's exciting. And next week is Lab Week?
Yes, we've agreed in our LinkedIn course group to try something more hands-on. We're going to work on some Hello World applications. Maybe even try building a RAG-based chatbot. This course has been quite business-focused so far, but now a few of us want to peek under the hood, explore the real tech stack behind the tools we're talking about.
Sounds like you're not just learning, you're starting to build.
Well, curiosity got the better of me, and that's what's exciting. Each week, I'm applying theory, then bouncing ideas off real industry conversations. That's what keeps it all grounded.
What a week. 2 assignments, 1 trade show, and a new wave of collaboration. Where can listeners follow along?
Right here. I'll continue documenting the journey every week on this podcast. Thanks for tuning in to Reinventing Broadcast. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to Reinventing Broadcast. Subscribe for more on AI content and the future of media. And visit ancast.tv for more info on Ben himself, the resources, other content, and news.